On the surface, fearsome balls of heavenly flames rained death and destruction upon the sacred Tirtha from the sky. At the same time, shamans and witch doctors scrambled left and right in confusion and fear, unclear of the situation and their attackers. The powerful fireballs dropping upon their heads seemingly manifested out of thin air. Oh, Holy Mother, please grant this child enlightenment, for she is lost. What great sins have we committed for the heavens to smite us so? If it is the cruelty of the heretics that has descended upon your garden, oh, Holy Mother, I beseech you to grant this child divine protection to repel the. While others ran for cover, a devout witch doctor prayed before a normal statue of the golden dragon until a fireball landed not far from her location. Its terrifying flames scattered upon impact and vaporized her into nothingness. We're under attack. Equip your totems, man the stations, and activate the barrier. A high-ranking shaman barked with instructions before shouting, "Where is the great shaman? Has anyone seen her holiness? You! Get the fuck over here. Don't run away when I am talking to you." Yes, you, the high-ranking shaman picked on one of the young apprentices who had glanced at him in passing. Ah! The apprentice cried in pain as his momentary delay caused him to be struck by wild scattering flames and lose his legs. My legs. Ah, my legs, the apprentice, damn it. The high-ranking shaman cursed, knowing it was useless to get any information out of the apprentice while he was in such a miserable state. Meanwhile, in the sky, the early transcendent true dragon, Laptiz, led a team of dragons to harass the sacred Tirtha in secrecy. They fired rounds after rounds of moderate-sized fireballs that did not have very high destructive power but a lot of spread damage. To most shamans and witch doctors below, such low-level attacks were life-threatening enough. They did not have the same high-quality totems as most Delarosan members. After all, there weren't enough totems to equip every member of the sacred Tirtha. Only the highest-ranking members of the sacred Tirtha had priority over the totems. Nevertheless, Laptiz continued to rain hell on the sacred Tirtha with her team without any pressure or threat from below. And unless they intentionally dispelled their stealth, the humans below had no idea who was attacking them, even if they saw where the attack was coming from. You cowards! Stop hiding in the clouds and come down here to fight me. I know you are up there. Just as a senior shaman barked at the sky, a fireball descended and obliterated him from the world of the living. Scattered remains of his brown robe shortly landed on the devastated ground where he once stood. Not far away, a dirt-covered apprentice with great luck cowered on the ground, blocking his ears from the screams of terror and destruction-inducing explosions. Strangely, all the wild, scattering flames managed to miss him. However, he soon fainted on the spot after a piece of human leg dropped on the ground, not far from his face. All apprentices will retreat to the outer sanctum to seek shelter. Senior rank shamans and witch doctors report to your nearest transcendent rank leaders for instructions. High rank shamans and witch doctors, follow High Shaman Sagarim to activate and protect the barrier crystal. Elders, assist me in repelling the external threats. As soon as the great shaman's voice was heard, resounding throughout the sacred Tirtha, many panicking members quickly calmed down and assumed their assigned duties. Order was restored to the sacred Tirtha at an alarming rate despite its initial chaos and confusion. At the same time, the elder shamans and witch doctors quickly found Limana. They followed her lead in resisting the descending fireballs with their defensive totems until the grand barrier activated. Bam! 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 The fiery balls of heavenly flames slammed against the hastily conjured green, turtle-like shells but failed to break its defenses. Oh! The power of the defensive totems quickly caught Laptiz's interest as she studied their activity with clairvoyance magic. These must be the totems produced with hex magic knowledge, and their quality isn't low either. It looks like we have caught the attention of their higher-ups, Laptiz commented before encouraging her peers, brothers and sisters, let us hit them something harder, give them something to remember us by. Lady Laptiz, I know you are having fun, but please don't forget the mission given to us by the Supreme Leader, another female dragon elite reminded. I know that, Sapphira. You are looking down on me too much. I am still your team leader, you know? How can I forget the Supreme Leader's instruction? Laptiz retorted unhappily. Our mission is to harass the sacred Tirtha and attract all their attention while the other teams seek out and destroy the hidden grand array laid out on the imperial capital city. Are we not doing exactly that? Or do you have another opinion, Sapphira? Laptiz questioned with a stern look after she reiterated the mission objective. I don't, Lady Laptiz, Sapphira replied bluntly before going silent. Humph. Good to know, Laptiz snorted before instructing the team, let us give them a taste of our mighty rank 5 fire spells. No need to aim for those turtle-looking shells. Target that big, blue crystal directly. They seem to be placing great importance on it, seeing how they are gathering many people around it, Laptiz added. Understood, Lady Laptiz. Sapphira and the other 3 dragons in the team answered. Just when everyone charged up their rank 5 fire spells and released them, Laptiz received an abrupt sound transmission from Kizi. While the other fire beam shot towards the big blue crystal a step too late as the sacred Tirtha's grand barrier activated, Laptiz's fire beam veered off its intended flight path and destroyed the foundation of an enormous stone pillar. That very stone pillar collapsed into another enormous stone pillar, causing a domino effect that destroyed another 6 enormous stone pillars for a total destruction of 8 stone pillars. The devastation from the chain reaction resulted in thousands of deaths within the sacred Tirtha and significant damage to the core array of the grand barrier, leaving an opening flaw in its protection. Laptiz blinked at her surprising mishap. Lady Laptiz? Sapphira glanced at Laptiz with a dumbfounded look, numbed by her heaven-defying luck to miss an easy target and still achieve unbelievable results. That was part of my plan, Laptiz coughed before changing the subject with a serious look, I just received words from Lady Kizi. Team Kavat is having trouble against the enemy and requested reinforcement. Who among you are willing to fly over to assist them? I will permit up to 3 of you to leave. We only need 2 dragons here, Laptiz stated. I will go. Sapphira immediately volunteered with a grave look. Kavat is the brightest dragon in our generation. If he is seeking help, the situation there must be especially serious. I also have the same thoughts. Since that is the case, depart with haste, Laptiz urged. Yes, Lady Laptiz, Sapphira answered. Shortly after Sapphira departed, 2 dragons also followed her. Laptiz remained behind with Paku, a dragon elite from 7th peak. Well then, Paku. It seems we will have to put in more work to compensate for the deficiency in numbers. Understood, Lady Laptiz, that goes without saying, Paku, Boom. Boom. Within the sacred turtha, scattered herbs, broken vats of pure water, and potent beast materials littered the floor, mixed in with the ruptured soil and debris. The once sacred land of healing had been turned upside down within a matter of minutes as death and destruction rained down from above. Nevertheless, the river of healing and pond of rebirth Euro, the 2 most precious places in the sacred turtha, remained mostly untouched. Even if the sacred turtha was home to humans who had turned to the devil, their healing medicines were undeniably effective and precious elixir. As such, Laptiz had been instructed to avoid destroying such valuable places. Great Shaman, there's a gap in the Grand Barrier. Flames are spewing in from it and destroying everything in its vicinity, including our precious raw ingredients for totem production. What should we do, Your Holiness? An elder shaman cried in distress. Must I even say it? Immediately lead a team of members with rank 4 barrier totems or higher to secure the materials right now. Go. Limana roared. Yes, Your Holiness. The elder shaman quickly scurried off to complete the task. As parts of the sacred turtha were stabilized to a certain degree, people's thoughts became clearer as they considered their situation. Strange, we've been under attack for some time now. Why haven't we received any help from the outside? Help from the outside? Even if they want to help, who will come? We are getting attacked from the sky. How will they stop them? Don't they have wyvern riders? And who is to say the one attacking us from up there isn't the wyverns themselves? Perhaps the Imperial Wyvern Riders are behind this sudden attack. What? The Imperial Wyvern Riders? Did the Emperor learn about our sacred turtha's great secret? In that case, receiving any help right away will be unlikely. I bet many households and clans are confused about this attack and are seeking answers. Unfortunately, they won't get any answers even if they wait before the Imperial Palace. I heard the Della Rosa household had been under attack much earlier. The Emperor has most likely decided to eradicate us for good. Doesn't that mean we are on our own? Is this the end for us? You lack faith, Junior. We serve the Holy Mother and have her divine protection. Furthermore, the minor households are our most ardent supporters. Right. In a seemingly abandoned region of the slum district, Vaan flew at low speeds as he scanned the place with clairvoyance magic from the sky with an accompanying dragon elite. There's something strange about this deserted region. It seems to have been abandoned by the residents for many years, but I can sense an abnormally high amount of mana concentrated underneath the well area. What do you think, Isis? It is probably a part of the grand array that has been set up under the imperial capital. We better destroy it secretly without drawing attention. But if there are mana stones, it'll be even if we can loot it, Isis of 6th peak replied. True. Having more mana stones is never a bad thing, Vaan acknowledged before asking, will you do the honors? Or shall I do it? It doesn't matter who as long as we complete the Supreme Leader's task. I'll do it, Isis volunteered, not wanting to waste time on such a trivial matter. BZZT. A ball of black and gray light compressed in front of Isis as the space around it was distorted, devouring the surrounding space and light. Vaan was immediately startled by Isis's choice of magic. What are you planning to do with such a high-level spatial spell? You will see. After a black cube of concentrated spatial power was formed, Isis immediately dropped it down the abandoned. In the underground space beneath the well, the black cube contacted the ground before rapidly expanding like an enormous inflated balloon. It swallowed everything it touched before disappearing, leaving a huge void of space underground. Meanwhile, the missing chunk of earth was transported into Isis's private storage space. Oh. There was indeed a mana stone deposit down there. However, it wasn't natural but purposely placed. Isis checked the content of his storage space before saying, well, I'm sure this section of the Grand Array won't work anymore with such a big chunk of land missing, right? Vaan opened his mouth, wanting to ask how much mana stone Isis had pocketed. Seeing Isis's pleasant expression, he figured the harvest must have been pretty good. Alas, Vaan eventually suppressed his urge and curiosity. He had already acted magnanimously by giving Isis the opportunity. He would be a loser if he showed his regret and demanded a share now. Nevertheless, Vaan still inwardly cursed, damn it, would it hurt to tell me how much mana stone you found? Vaan suppressed the uncomfortable feeling in his heart before urging his teammate, we are done here. Let us move to the next location. Alright, Isis grinned. Previous chapter. Chapter 689 Second Memory. Second Memory. Imperial Capital, Black Mountain. Vaan continued to immerse himself in comprehending the law of space after making thorough arrangements for the dragons. Although he had already reaped huge benefits from the Black Mountain and advanced his law comprehension by leaps and bounds, he knew the Black Mountain still had more to offer. He had not hit that very limit of its laws. Moreover, he would be a fool if he didn't take advantage of every second and chance he had to advance his comprehension of the law of space when it had already become his strongest ability. When he had 5% comprehension of the fire law, he had already acquired the power of a peak demigod. Now that his comprehension of the spatial law crossed 9.9%, his spatial powers were already infinitely closer to a divine being's. Once he achieved 10% comprehension of the spatial law, his spatial authority, in its simplest application, would be on par with the weakest rank 6 divine being. However, without the soul power to match his law comprehension, there was a severe limit to how often he could use his strongest spatial abilities. To wield the spatial law at the level of a divine being with only the soul power of a peak demigod was far too efficient and draining. It was like building a 100-meter deep fishing pond, but the fishing line only extended to 50 meters. The fishing line would be greatly strained from stretching to reach the bottommost depth. In other words, the conversion ratio of soul power to law power was incredibly poor. Nevertheless, such a price was trivial compared to having access to divine power at a lower level. However, that wasn't the main reason for Vaan striving so hard for such a high level of law comprehension. He was hoping that reaching such a level of law comprehension would allow him to tap into more memories and better understand his past and the secrets of the universe. At the same time, absorbing the memories of his past life would also increase his comprehension of the laws to a significant degree. Ding! Your comprehension of the law of space has reached 10%. Your spatial authority has reached the threshold of divine power. A large soul fragment has been discovered inside your sea of consciousness. Would you like to absorb the large soul fragment? Yes. Vaan willed. Shortly after he gave his answer, a huge amount of information poured into his mind, surprisingly causing him soul-tearing pain. Evidently, the information contained within this second soul fragment was on a whole different level compared to the first soul fragment. It was at least tenfold greater. The burden and pain from absorbing such a large piece of soul fragment caused his saturated soul to compress and expand in order to accommodate more space automatically. Such a method of increasing his soul power was far more effective than using the suppressive power of the Black Mountain. However, this method was also too forceful, and the future consequences were unclear. Nevertheless, Vaan didn't have the spare energy to worry over such things as his exhausted mind drifted off into the land of dreams. Chaos, the 122nd Chaos Cycle Era. In a small corner of the world, at the edge of the vast and boundless chaos, the boundary between existence and non-existence, two celestial-like, dashing young men stood side by side in the void of space. They appeared quite young, but their true age would leave most denizens of chaos frightened to death should they ever learn of it. The young man on the left was dressed in black and had the features of a Darkhan for the most part, except for his crimson eyes, which were like two bottomless abysses of blood slaughter. It seemed like this dashing young man had taken so many lives and spilled so much blood that he could drown the boundless heavens and paint chaos in its color. On the other hand, the young man on the right was dressed in white and had the features of a Lunaran, a person born with fairy-like fair skin, snow-white hair, and ocean-blue eyes. In Pangaea, Lunarans were people of the moon and believed themselves to be the descendants of the moon goddess. And as a person of the moon, the young man in white possessed a peaceful, soothing aura, a complete contrast to the young man in black, whose aura screamed the tyranny of blood and death. Despite their seemingly polar opposite traits, they were brothers who shared the same father. In this seemingly desolate and unexplored region of space, the two quietly gazed into the endless sea of nothingness that lay on the other side of the chaos barrier, which shielded chaos from the decay of nihilistic power. Rumble. Soft ripples appeared on the chaos barrier from time to time as illusory creatures of unknown origins assaulted it from a region of space that shouldn't have any living beings or existences at all. Witnessing such a sight, the eyelashes of the man in white fluttered with concern. The chaos barrier was considered the most powerful force in the world as it protected the 122 chaos verses within it from the threat of extinction. Creating ripples on such a durable wall was beyond difficult. It was a feat only very few beings could accomplish. And yet, outside the chaos barrier, in a no-man's land, hundreds of such unknown beings were battering the wall, stirring countless ripples. This is the 7th incident in the past 3 chaos cycles. The intervals between attacks are shortening, and their numbers are increasing. Yet, I haven't learned anything about their origins in this period, the man in black solemnly mentioned before turning to the man in white. What about you, big brother? You're asking me, little brother? The man in white chuckled before shaking his head helplessly. If the one feared as Azura, also known for being the Lord of Chaos, one who rules over all and knows all, doesn't know anything, then how could I, this untalented older brother, possibly know something? You sure know how to crack a joke, big brother, Azura smiled with amusement. Who would dare call you untalented? You are Varana, Lord of the boundless seas and skies, someone who has surpassed the origin limit and stepped into the same realm as I. If you are considered untalented, then there are no talented beings in this world, Azura added with seriousness. Spare the comforting words, little brother, Varana shook his head with a wry smile. You know that's not what I meant. While we are indeed in the same realm, our powers are worlds apart. My power, while it is great, it is limited. You, on the other hand, have unlimited power as the Lord of Chaos. Lord of Chaos this, Lord of Chaos that. I'm getting tired of hearing it, big brother, Azura sighed helplessly before saying, I am indeed the Lord of Chaos and have access to the limitless power of chaos, but that is only because I was the first one to refine chaos and become its one and only master. However, chaos is the eternal legacy All-Father left behind after striving his whole life to carve out the path to everlasting, allowing all life to break free from the predestined fate of disappearing at the end of every chaos cycle. As long as I am the Lord of Chaos, I will govern and safeguard chaos, not abuse its power. That said, being the Lord of Chaos is so boring. I would rather be remembered as Albion the Azura. And as just Albion the Azura, it is hard to say which of us Outerverse originators is stronger, big brother, Azura stated. Ha! You are too humble, little brother, Varuna replied with a dry and helpless laugh. Without your extensive help, I never would have reached beyond true divinity realm and become an inner-verse originator with my limited talent, let alone an outer-verse originator. My talent's limit should have been the Empyrean God realm. It was you who permitted me to reach this height, which most beings could only dream about, Varuna said earnestly. Ha ha ha, my good big brother. Azura suddenly burst into laughter before saying, even if I am acting humble, it is only in front of you. Who else would dare say the Azura is humble? Moreover, if you really want to talk about favors, it is I who owe you the most. If it weren't for your protection and care back then, would still be trapped in the endless cycle of reincarnation, living one mediocre life after the other. The Lord of Chaos of today only exists because of you, big brother, Azura emphasized before suddenly mentioning, given our long lives, it wouldn't be strange for us to be indifferent to everything. Why are you feeling sentimental today, big brother? What do you have on your mind? This might be the last time we see each other, Varuna said after a moment of silence. Azura was immediately startled by his older brother's shocking statement. As the Lord of Chaos, there wasn't anywhere in chaos he couldn't reach. So long as one lived in chaos, he would always be able to see them, should he will it. Thus, there were only two instances where he might not see his older brother ever again. Either his big brother had become tired of life and wanted to end his eternal life, or he intended to leave chaos and explore the no-man's land known as the boundless sea of nothingness. Naturally, Azura didn't believe his big brother was tired of life, so it could only be the latter. As you know, everyone used to believe there was nothing out there in the boundless sea of nothingness, Varuna calmly mentioned. However, that foolish belief was shattered and those things appeared 3 chaos cycles ago. Not only are there other existences out there, but they are all incredibly powerful. Even if they aren't as powerful as true originators, they wield origin power like one. Furthermore, there are hundreds of them out there now. There were only half a dozen when they showed up at the chaos barrier the first time, little brother. How many more will show up the next time and the time after that? Perhaps even more powerful existences will start showing up to attack the chaos barrier. Whatever the case is, it is undeniable that outer beings are threatening chaos. I fear that if we continue to do nothing, Allfather's legacy will end due to these outer beings. That's why I have made a decision. I will venture into the depths of the boundless sea of nothingness to uncover its hidden secrets. If an infinitely broader world is hidden out there, I will find it. If greater beings exist, I will learn their path of evolution. If they threaten chaos, I will lure them away, Varuna firmly declared. Do you have any idea what you are saying, big brother? Azura lost his calmness as he scolded. I do not doubt you can freely traverse the boundless sea of nothingness without an issue as an outerverse originator. Even these brainless outer beings pose no threat to you. But what if you run into a greater being, one with power beyond our imagination? If you die out there, your origin source may never be able to return. And even if a miracle happens and your origin source manages to return, there's still a high chance it will either be damaged or contaminated by the nihilistic power outside, causing irreversible change that even I may be helpless to undo. However, that isn't even the most important part. If such damages or changes truly occur, I may never be able to locate your origin source and revive you, big brother. You have to rethink your decision. If you leave, you'll be damned to suffer in the endless cycle of reincarnation. You must remember that we are beings who have long stood above the heavens. Our reincarnations will not be the same as any others. The heavens will envy you and give you impossible trials and tribulations to prevent you from rising above its head a second time. You'll be condemned to mediocre lives filled with tragedies. And with each restart, your memories will be washed away. Even if you recover some in one life, you will lose them all in the next. We won't just lose you, even you will lose yourself, big brother. This is far from a wise choice. Azura stressed the consequences of dying outside of chaos. After listening to Azura's concerned words, Varuna cracked a warm and gentle smile. I have pondered this choice for a long time and weighed all the consequences of failure, little brother. In this regard, I am more familiar than you. However, while it is probably the most illogical and stupidest choice to make, it is a choice only I can make. There is no one else more suitable for me. Varuna suddenly patted Azura on the shoulders and said, we can't be turtles hiding in a shell forever. Someone has to go out there and see what is going on, and that someone can only be me. However, this is not a bad thing. In the distant past, the concept of everlasting was but a mere dream, and the end of a chaos cycle was also the end of all things. People believed it was absolute and couldn't be changed. It was Allfather who turned the impossibility into a possibility and forged the path to the everlasting, creating an eternal legend to be remembered throughout the ages. And now it is the turn of I, his eldest son, to also perform an impossible feat and create my own eternal legend. Allfather created the eternal heaven known as chaos, but the emergence of outer beings now threatens its eternity. I shall be the one to clear out the threats of outer heaven and grant it true everlasting existence. So do not pity me or feel saddened by my decision, little brother. Instead, you should be proud of me, your big brother. This is my calling, destiny, and duty, Varuna stated with a firm resolution. Azura softly sighed in resignation before asking with helplessness, how do you expect me to explain this to our mothers, big brother? We may be born from different mothers, but we share the same father. Our mothers love us all the same. It won't just be Mother Arya who will resent me for letting you leave, but also my own mother Dunalumi. You're making things difficult for me, big brother, Azura lightly complained. Ha ha ha, you will find a way to cope with their rage. Also, they will understand my choice in time, Varuna lightly laughed before mentioning, besides, you were also hoping I would make this, did you not? Why else would you invite me here, little brother? Azura trembled upon hearing that as his heart flooded with guilt. At their level, it wasn't difficult for them to see through each other's intentions. However, Varuna also understood him. While it was true that Azura hoped he would leave to investigate the boundless sea of nothingness, he also hoped he would never make the decision. Azura was deeply conflicted between responsibility and feelings. I'm sorry, big brother. Azura apologized, feeling ashamed of his own heartlessness. Since he ultimately invited his big brother to the edge of chaos, it showed his sense of responsibility had prevailed over his personal feelings. Nevertheless, Varuna shook his head without the slightest disappointment and only smiled with warmth and understanding. This isn't something you need to be sorry for, little brother, Varuna said. As Outerverse originators and the proud sons of the Prime Originator, we can never shy away nor shirk from our responsibilities and duties. We were destined to lead lives different from everyone else's. We were born to lead the heaven and cannot enjoy the privileges of those who live beneath it. We make choices based on what needs to be done and not what we want to do. This has nothing to do with our feelings and does not affect our brotherhood. I'm saying this now because I don't want you to feel burdened by my choice. Don't let this moment become your forever inner demon, Varuna stressed. Azura knew the time of Varuna's departure was drawing closer, and the fear of losing him forever grew stronger. He felt like his heart was getting ripped out when he heard his big brother's considerate words. His big brother could have left without a word. However, he chose to stay and spoke so much to put his heart at ease and give him peace of mind. Back when he was still weak and lost, it was his big brother who looked after him and guided him out of the heartless cycle of endless reincarnation. Now that he had become the Lord of Chaos, the strongest being in inner heaven, his big brother was still looking after him. Nothing had changed, he was still his big brother's little brother, and it was the duty of the big brother to care for his little brother. Is there anything you want me to do for you, big brother? Azura asked with a heavy heart. Varuna paused for a moment before grinning. If you can look after my lineage, that would be great. However, there's no need to be soft and overprotective. If they err in their ways, don't hesitate to flog them or even throw them into the reincarnation cycle to repent, Varuna added. Although his words made him seem heartless to his descendants, it was only a matter of perspective. As an eternal existence above the heavens, reversing death was as simple as turning over one's hand. To an Outerverse originator, death did not hold the same weight as it did to mortals. To them, getting one's misbehaved descendants thrown into the reincarnation cycle was no different from getting them grounded to their rooms. I will, big brother. You can count on that, Azura promised earnestly. Well then, I'll be leaving now. Take care, my good little brother. Big brother, wait. Fear overwhelmed Azura at the last moment, prompting him to stop Varuna from leaving. However, it was already too late. Varuna didn't just leave, he left decisively. He did not spare any time to meet nor leave behind any words for his lineage. Doing so would have only weakened his resolve. The supposedly durable chaos barrier easily gave way to Varuna as he disappeared into the unknown depths of the boundless sea of nothingness. Every outer being within his sight also vanished along the way, reduced to nothingness. That was the last time Azura saw any traces of his beloved big brother. Boundless sea of nothingness. In an unknown region of emptiness, Varuna continued to be hammered by the dust of nothingness as he traversed the life-extinguishing void. Usually, anything that touched the dust of nothingness would disappear from existence. Whether it was life, matter, or energy, all concepts of their existence would cease to exist when they came into contact with the nihilistic power coursing throughout the boundless sea of nothing. However, this was not the case for Varuna. When the dust of nothingness touched Varuna, he did not disappear. On the contrary, it was dust of nothingness that ceased its existence as its nihilistic power disappeared, transforming into origin power that empowered and sustained Varuna. In the first year of travel, Varuna occasionally encountered beast-like outer beings in the red void of nothingness. Alas, not much was known about its specific species. Every outer being discovered in the boundless sea of nothingness was nigh invisible. The only determining factors of their existence were their movements, which distorted space and provided rough outlines of their figures. On rarer occasions, some would also sparkle with countless glittering colored light particles. In the following 100 years of void traveling, outer beings were no longer spotted. Only the endless red void of nothingness accompanied Varuna. As Varuna continued his lonesome travel, the situation remained unchanged for another 10,000 years before beast-like outer beings were spotted in groups. They numbered in the hundreds like the last group. Varuna wanted to study and understand them, but unfortunately, even with his seemingly omnipotent power as an Outerverse originator, he couldn't crack the secret of their existence. It was as if they were protected by a power of invisibility from a higher dimension that hid their true appearances from the world. As such, Varuna's lower dimension perception failed to perceive them. Another possibility was that concentrated dust of nothingness had long integrated with their beings, becoming a layer of their flesh and granting them the ability of invisibility. The last possibility Varuna thought of was that the dust of nothingness naturally became concentrated and gained sentience. Nevertheless, Varuna never gave up on his pursuit of an answer. He continued to study the outer beings for set periods during his travels whenever he encountered new groups of outer beings. The outer beings could not threaten Varuna with their meager power at half-originator. This dull cycle of lonesome travel and study continued for a whole chaos cycle. In the second chaos cycle of travel, stronger outer beings appeared. Their powers ranged from early-stage innerverse originator to late-stage innerverse originator. Varuna wasn't sure if he would encounter outer beings as powerful as him or even stronger if he continued his blind journey. However, he didn't stop. In the latter half of the second chaos cycle, Varuna finally discovered something other than the dust of nothingness and unintelligent outer beings. A fragment of a dead chaos verse that persisted through the decay of nothingness. The Chaos Verse fragment was not very large, but not too small either. It only contained 6,000 star realms. Remnants of the Chaos Verse laws also remained. However, there was no normal life in this Chaos Verse fragment. Instead, it became a nest for billions of outer beings. Furthermore, there were Outerverse originator-level outer beings among them. If this piece of Chaos Verse ever reached chaos, all life would end unless the Lord of Chaos intervened. Nevertheless, it was also in this Chaos Verse fragment that Varana made a surprising discovery. Not all outer beings were hostile towards him. At the very least, the avian and aquatic-looking outer beings were docile and tameable. As the Lord of the boundless seas and skies, Varana had created countless skies and seas, giving life to many avian and aquatic lifeforms. His unique aura as their creator made all avian and aquatic lifeforms naturally intimate and subservient to him. Varana didn't expect his unique creator aura would also affect outer beings. Nevertheless, this pleasant surprise was only a small episode in Varana's long, lonesome travel. In the third chaos cycle of traveling through the red void of nothingness, Varana finally made the ultimate discovery: the infinitely boundless world of a higher dimension. Unfortunately, that was also where he met his end, perished at the hands of a celestial-like outer being that was as big as an entire chaos verse. In front of such a colossal entity, Varana's size and power were simply far too insignificant. Vaan almost lost himself in the long river of memories and time and believed himself to be Varana at some point as he experienced everything through his eyes. And yet, when it came to the most crucial ending point of Varana's life, everything suddenly became blurry and disconnected. He was robbed of the truth before he was given a chance to perceive it. As Vaan's mind drifted through a seemingly timeless and pitch-black void, just when he thought the recollection had ended, he was pulled into a new memory: Varana's first reincarnated life. The 127th Chaos Cycle of Chaos, Primeval Chaos Verse, Everblue Star. In the year 723 of the Dark Age, a Solaran prince was born in the Memoria Royal City shortly after a pandemic outbreak. It should have been a time of joy for the Memoria Royals as they welcomed the new member of their house into the world. However, the newborn prince was born with one ocean blue eye and one blood red eye, causing confusion, panic, and fear to arise within the Memoria Royal family. "This is my baby." Queen Lumina glanced at the blood red color in one of her baby's eyes with horror and repulsion after her hard labor. Caw. Caw. A murder of crows suddenly started flocking and gathering outside the castle with excitement as they circled the sky in celebration of Prince Victor's birth. The unknown phenomenon startled and frightened royals and servants alike. "Curse. It's a curse. It's a cursed baby," a maidservant screamed in horror as she blocked her ears to deafen the crow's cries. "No. My baby is not cursed." Queen Lumina cried as she held her newborn, profound sadness flooding her heart. Shortly after, she glared at the maidservant and barked, "Drag her out and execute her." "And no. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not mistaken. Please don't kill me. That thing should be killed instead," the maidservant cried. Alas, her pleas fell on deaf ears as the soldiers dragged her out of the castle and executed her. At the same time, all details of Prince Victor Memoria's birth were hidden from the public. Unfortunately, a small bucket of water couldn't extinguish a forest fire. As the murder of crows grew in numbers, blotting out the sky of the royal castle, rumors of the cursed prince easily spread like wildfire. After all, the day of the prince's birth was also the day the murder of crows gathered. Bodies littered the streets day after day as people died from the Black Death, and the atmosphere of the royal city became heavy with the stench of death and fear. After enduring months of such suffocating gloom, public unrest reached the boiling point of eruption, and people crowded outside the castle gates with pitchforks, shovels, and axes, any tools they could use as weapons. They demanded the royal family hand over the cursed prince for execution, believing the cursed prince was the source of the plague. Uneducated and ignorant swines. These peasants know nothing but speak a lot of rubbish. Your Majesty, you mustn't listen to them. Queen Lumina pleaded to her king. However, her hopes were dashed by the following words: "I'm sorry, my love." The public outrage was too great, and King Luther Memoria submitted to the external pressure. Prince Victor was dragged out and burned to death in public at the tender age of 3 months. As a result, Queen Lumina turned crazy. Unfortunately for the Memoria Kingdom, the death of Prince Victor did not solve their pandemic crisis, but it worsened instead. On the day of Prince Victor's death, the endless murder of crows cried as the heaven itself seemingly mourned his loss. At the same time, the numerous crows went mad and attacked all humans on sight with frenzied rage. They wanted to avenge Prince Victor, even at the cost of their lives. They gorged on human eyes, ate infected rats, polluted wells and rivers with their corpses, and devastated crops, causing widespread damage beyond everyone's imagination. The entire kingdom trembled at their wrath. A week later, the crazy queen was also dragged out of the castle to be burned at the stake in public after she was labeled as the witch who gave birth to the cursed prince. At the moment of her death, Queen Lumina looked at the crowd of peasants with hollow eyes of endless despair, desolation, and resignation and spat vengefully, "Ignorance is not a sin, but even 10,000 deaths won't earn you my forgiveness. I will wait for you in hell. I curse you, curse all of you to die ugly, miserable, and pathetic deaths." Did we do the right thing? A peasant questioned his morals. Nevertheless, even after Queen Lumina's death, the Memoria Kingdom continued to be plagued by the Black Death and the wrath of all winged creatures of the sky. It wasn't just crows but all birds that joined the war against humans later. The people of the Memoria Kingdom were finally aware of their grave mistake, and there wasn't a single person who didn't know how to write the word regret, not even the illiterate. Unfortunately, the Memoria kingdom was already doomed to fall, and the whole country eventually fell to ruin in a short span of 6 months without a single survivor. Later, the incident shocked everyone living on Everblue Star. 100 years after Prince Victor died on Everblue Star, Varana's second reincarnation started in the Great Desolate Chaos Verse, Grand Blue Star. The world was frighteningly cold in the Grand Blue Star, making life extremely difficult for humans. Nothing could grow on land, and humans could only live in coastal regions next to the sea, where aquatic lifeforms thrived limitlessly. Although fishing wasn't easy, it was still possible and was the only source of survival the primitive humans knew. When Varana's second reincarnation, Venice Del Mar, was born, his fishing village was blessed with countless stranded fish on shore as if they were trying to reach him and pay their respects. However, the villagers saw it as God's gift to them instead. After all, what kind of delusional idea was a newborn getting worshipped by fish? Nevertheless, it wasn't a one-time blessing. Since the day of Venice's birth, fish have been found stranded ashore each morning, in amounts fishermen could only dream of catching before. Each day was like a yearly harvest, and they didn't need to work for it. Such a miraculous situation couldn't be kept secret, and the news spread to other villages. In those days, many people visited the Frostbone village to verify the truth for themselves. After the truth was confirmed, Frostbone village experienced a large influx of migrating villagers. In a mere 5 years, the small Frostbone village developed into a large, prosperous city of 20,000 people. Frostbone City became the future of humanity in the Dark Ice Age. Unfortunately, good times did not last forever. The daily offering of fish failed to keep up with the population, and even the amounts became lesser and lesser. People began to despair when even the fishermen returned from their daily trips with poorer harvests than in the past. Famine struck Frostbone City, and people started dying from malnutrition and hunger. Bodies piled up by the day, and greater despair seeped in. With nowhere else to turn to, the people of Frostbone City prayed to the gods of the sea for more abundant fish blessings. Alas, the sea answered them with silence and a further reduction of daily stranded fish. Around that time, 5-year-old Venice visited the sea with his fisherman father for the first time and discovered his ability to communicate with aquatic lifeforms and befriend them. At the same time, they started to gather around his father's fishing boat with joy as they greeted and paid their respects to Venice. Venice's father, Marvin Del Mar, was almost frightened to death when so many large aquatic lifeforms rose above the sea surface, rocking the small fishing boat with wave after wave of icy cold seawater. "You scared my papa. Can you not scare him?" Venice asked the large dolphins and whales in a childish voice. Marvin was immediately surprised to see the huge sea creatures retreat into the sea and draw some distance from the fishing boat to make them feel more comfortable. These huge sea creatures actually listened to his son. Suddenly, he recalled that the day his son was born was also the day the old village started receiving the gift of fish. My son was born to rule the seas. Marvin thought excitedly. Unable to suppress his urge to test his theory, Marvin quickly made a request of his son. "Hey, bud. Can you try asking them to give us some fish to eat?" "I'll try, Papa," Venice agreed innocently. Shortly after, he asked the large dolphins and whales as per his father's request, and sure enough, they disappeared into the sea for a moment before returning with schools of fish in their mouth. Marvin lost his breath in his excitement on the spot. After a moment, he quickly reeled in the fish with a net before filling the boat to its load limit. That day, Marvin earned the praise of the entire city when he brought the fish back. And in the following week, Marvin would always bring Venice fishing with him every day. The loads of fish he brought back daily for the city earned him great awe and envy. Many fishermen figured Marvin must have found a golden fishing spot. They decided to tail him on one following morning secretly. It was then that they witnessed the shocking sight of oversized dolphins and whales offering fish after Venice made the request. Before long, the whole city knew the secret after the fishermen shared the discovery. The city authorities deprived Venice of his parents and dragged him out to sea from morning to late night, forcing him to ask the sea lords for schools of fish every day. Such laborsome travels were naturally too much for a 5-year-old boy to handle. But even though Venice was tired and cold, he had no choice but to follow the forceful whims of the adults. Everyone in the city abused his gift as much as they could without caring for Venice's health and happiness. They weren't sure if his gift would last forever. Thus, they sought to stock up as much seafood as possible while his gift lasted. Much to their pleasant surprise, Venice's gift did not disappear, even after several weeks. But at that point, he was already too weak to walk. He did not get the rest that a child should. As a child messiah who brought salvation to his city with his special gift, he did not receive the respect and care that he was owed. Instead, all he got was physical and mental abuse due to his naivety and young age. "Brother dolphin, sister whale. Please don't give us fish anymore. I'm tired. Too tired. I don't want to do this anymore." Venice cried before receiving an abrupt slap from an angry fisherman. "Nonsense. How can we eat if you do not ask them to give us?" Roar. The sea itself was seemingly enraged as the fleet of fishing boats was rocked by heavy waves of water. The furious cries of the sea lords summoned the wrath of the ocean as countless more members of their kind answered their call. "Q quick. Back to shore." The fishermen cried in fright. Fortunately for them, the angry sea life chased them but did not hunt them down for fear of hurting Venice in the process. As a result, the fleet of fishing boats made it all back to Frostbone City safely. Since that day, no fisherman dared to venture out to sea again. However, they found a more effective method to receive their daily offering of fish from the sea, by torturing Venice at the shore and letting his painful cries echo to the sea. Even though the furious sea lords summoned a whole army of sea creatures to the shores of Frostbone City, they failed to advance further due to the city's effective threat to kill Venice if they continued. Ultimately, the Sea Lords could only give in to the greedy and desperate humans' demands and retreat. Scream, boy. Call out to them. Ask them to bring us fish from the sea, the heartless city lord demanded. Bad man. You are a bad man. Venice cursed the city lord before saying, Brother Dolphin and Sister Whale are so nice to give us fish to eat every day, and yet you seek to abuse our kindness. You bite the hand that feeds you. You ungrateful, bad. Paw. The furious city lord slapped Venice without restraint, barking, If I tell you to scream, you scream. I don't need to be lectured by a little shit. City lord, you. Several guards and fishermen were startled by the city lord's excessive display of force, fearing he would hurt the child badly. After all, in this blizzard hell, where no crops could be grown, and the only source of food came from the sea, any heavy injury would likely lead to death since they couldn't make any medicine. This was especially the case for children. How could the weakened and dispirited Venice withstand such a heavy blow? He was instantly knocked out with some blood dripping from his mouth. Seeing this, the city lord finally showed a bit of concern. How could he let their golden fish die? Someone, tend to him at once, the city lord ordered. Alas, Venice would no longer wake up. His weakened body already lacked strength and barely had enough energy to maintain their functions. Now that his body had suffered an injury, his deficient energy was used to heal his body. However, without the strength to eat and ward off the cold, Venice's body continued to weaken on its own until death took him away. Meanwhile, Venice's father was filled with regret, while his mother was completely heartbroken by his situation, not knowing their child had already passed away. Ever since they tried to fight back for the custody of their son, they had been locked away in prison by the city lord. Gone. How can he be gone? Why is he so weak? City lord, it's not good. The furious people have gathered outside your home, they are demanding your head, blaming you for killing the sea child. Frostbone City was quickly engulfed in chaos as people fought and blamed each other for not treating Venice better. But no matter what they did, everything was futile, they could undo what had happened. With the last vestige of Venice's unique aura disappearing from the world, the Sea Lords became aware of his passing. The sea was immediately boiled with endless fury and madness. Not long after, Frostbone City vanished from the face of the earth along with all its residents, washed away by the wrath of the sea. In the first reincarnation, Varuna died because of ignorance. In the second reincarnation, he died because of greed. Before Varuna's reincarnations were given a chance to grow their wings, they were mercilessly clipped by human malice. Hundreds. Thousands. Tens of thousands. Millions. Varun continued to reincarnate into different worlds with low life value and development, dying tragic deaths before reaching adulthood. They couldn't resist the first tribulation given by the heavens. Nevertheless, with each death and each cycle of reincarnation, the aura of the Lord of the boundless seas and skies was washed away, bit by bit, until all traces of it were gone. Since then, the difficulty of the tribulations given by the heavens has lessened. Ding! You have finished viewing the first half of Varuna's tragic cycle of reincarnation. You have recovered some boundless sea and sky aura from your first life as the Lord of the boundless seas and skies. Warning, the heavens have noticed you and grown envious of your talent. Vaan's heart suddenly felt cold after hearing the last notification. He completely understood what it implied. Tribulation was coming. After absorbing the second soul fragment, Vaan's status underwent great changes. Although the recovery of his boundless sea and sky aura was most likely his greatest gain, it was not his only gain. That said, it was definitely his most concerned gain. Having glimpsed through millions of short reincarnations, Vaan had learned much about heaven's envy and life tribulation. The so-called heaven's envy was a type of law that had existed since the beginning of time. The purpose of its existence was to control the growth of life and not let it grow aggressively like cancer. This was to prevent the universe from getting flooded with powerful beings capable of destroying worlds. In simple words, heaven's envy was a law of balance and self-preservation, and its purpose was to prune life. Only by overcoming the life tribulation would one be allowed to continue living. Although the Prime Originator, All-Father of Chaos, granted the path of everlasting to all life, he also thought it was necessary to keep such a law. Thus, even the Lord of Chaos did not touch or alter it. Nevertheless, the heavens weren't completely heartless. It wouldn't give people life tribulations without recompense. There were plenty of benefits to overcoming them. As such, life tribulations couldn't be considered the damnation of the heavens but trials or tests, those that complete them would be rewarded. However, the problem was that the difficulty of Varuna's life tribulations was so great that he was mired in the vicious cycle of reincarnation millions of times. It was no different from a death sentence. Furthermore, life tribulations weren't events that only came once. So long as one lived under the heavens, they would continue to receive life tribulations. I overcame death once when I activated the system, and since then, my rise has been relatively smooth and swift. This could be considered passing a life tribulation and receiving its reward. Vaan thought. As a man living in a matriarchal society, his life had been truly difficult. Death was just around every corner, waiting for him to stumble. There should have been many more unreasonable witches like the city lord's daughter, who ignored all rules and reason throughout the kingdom. However, he had actually encountered so few of them and met many more reasonable witches that he had always been suspicious and doubtful of his heaven-defying luck. As it turned out, this was part of the heaven's blessings for passing the life tribulation. I have achieved a level of power others wouldn't even dare to dream of achieving in several decades, let alone in less than a year. With my present abilities, I should be able to contend with weak divine beings now. Vaan deeply mused. The boundless sea and sky aura had raised the difficulty of his future life tribulations. Thus, he had to consider everything that could threaten the current him. In fact, there were too many to list. There was nothing he could do to resist if the sun suddenly exploded or outer beings descended from the sea of stars. However, as I thought, the closest things that could threaten me right now are the 7 great devils. Vaan felt a tremendous weight bearing him down. He wasn't ready to contend with peak rank 6 divine beings like the 7 great devils. However, that was only the case if he was in Gehenna. If they came to Pangaea, their powers would be suppressed. He wouldn't mind slaying a few divine beings in that case. But if the great devils found a way to ignore the worldly power suppression, Vaan's heart chilled. Imperial Capital, De La Rosa household. Shortly after Freygar discovered the weakness of blood magic, she quickly instructed her fellow peers, destroy his blood reserve with poison magic. He won't be able to use his blood manipulation if there's no blood to control. Yes, Lady Freygar, the other dragons answered. After they fended off the double contractor Galen's attack, they immediately targeted his blood bank with poison spells. They knew they couldn't compete with Galen directly. Thus, they chose to weaken him first by destroying his advantage. All of a sudden, Galen found his blood bank bombarded with poisonous green spells. The highly venomous power seeped into the pool of blood and fused with it, altering its properties. Not only did the blood coagulate, but they also became heavy, like dense metal. Even though Galen could still control the coagulated blood to an extent, it was too burdensome compared to normal blood. The coagulated blood drained his mental power like crazy when he tried to force the issue. Galen's expression darkened instantly. Pesky lizards, you have enraged me. Do you think you can stop me if you ruin my blood bank? Galen roared. He quickly separated the normal blood from coagulate blood to salvage what he could before drawing them all into his blood. Despite the huge volume of blood, Galen's body was like a bottomless abyss, swallowing it without an issue. However, his flesh became increasingly flushed, and his eyes glistened with greater crimson intensity. At the same time, the entire blood slaughter domain was quickly shrouded in darkness with a wave of his hand, obscuring everyone's vision. You fools. Blood isn't the only thing I can control, Galen spat with contempt. Vampires were the rulers of blood and darkness. Since he was bestowed the concentrated blood essence of the vampire ancestor, he was no different from a royal vampire. Naturally, he inherited the power of blood and darkness. Inside the shrouded region of darkness, Galen's presence vanished as if he had become one with the darkness. At the same time, he could still see the concentrated blood of everyone's heart. Every heartbeat was like a pulse that allowed Galen to hear and see people's entire network of blood vessels. Furthermore, by studying the blood flow and heart rate, he could sense everyone's emotions and predict their movements. Galen's vision was enhanced while others were robbed of theirs. Let the hunt begin. Galen's smug look abruptly froze as powerful beams of light erupted from the dragon's locations, dispersing their surrounding darkness. You pesky lizards and your magic are truly annoying, Galen spat gloomily. Although he was powerful, he was still a newly awakened royal vampire. He was still in the testing phase of his abilities.